session 2. I think I forgot to tell you who I am. I'm Lucille, co-director of Gita International. I've been teaching yogic philosophy and the wisdom teachings for the past almost 40 years. So I'd like to share with you some insights and some understandings that I've gained over that time, which might be helpful for you. One of the very common questions I get frequently now from students and from people around is, why is it so stressful now? Why is life so difficult? It never used to be like this. And that's perfectly true, but we are in very interesting times. I like to use the analogy that humanity is going through adolescence. As I mentioned in the first session, adolescence is always a bit of a trying time, as any parent will tell you. And when it comes to the whole of humanity going through its adolescence, there's huge changes going on. And there are enormous pressures to change from one way of being to another. To move from being the child, always directed, told what to do, how to get there, when to do things, to really rail against authority and say, yes, 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 but then if something goes wrong, expect authority to fix it. And we're moving from humanity doing that with our governments, with our religious institutions, acting as parents towards us and expecting governments to fix things, to a totally new way of being. That totally new way of being is self-responsibility. You've probably heard people talking about the age of Aquarius and moving into the age of Aquarius. And that's the age of self-responsibility. And that's when we've got to grow up out of our adolescence and move into something much more efficient, much more effective. We have to take responsibility for self. So no one else is going to clean up our mess. No one else is going to fix it. We have to fix it for ourselves. It's fairly major. And if we haven't been practicing it for the last few years, we're going to really feel it now that it's very hard. All of the cosmic pressures around us are pushing us to really make that transition and to become self-responsible. All of those pressures have been building up over the last few years, several hundred really, but most intensely over this last 25 years before the millennium and up and over it now. And it's pushing us to really go forward. Hence, if we're a bit late, if we haven't done anything about getting our show together, if we haven't really found out who we are and taking responsibility for ourselves, things are going to be hard. I often liken it to tax time. You know how 30th of June everybody rushes like crazy to get everything finished for tax. It's as if the 30th of June is a new idea every year. We know it's coming, but we don't actually prepare for it well until we absolutely have to. So you could say the pressures of our times are a bit like the taxman cometh. We're being pushed to get things ready to move into the new. I'll talk a little bit more about the new age and some of the instances and things that are happening there, because I think it might be useful to understand that, but we'll do that on another session. For the time being, have a look at the things that are going on in your life and see which things are really under pressure and look at them in a new way. Over the last few years, scientifically, we've zoomed in to study literally the toenails of a flea. It's time we zoomed out and looked at the bigger picture. So look at the bigger picture in your life and see where things are happening, what's going on, and what could be the bigger picture. Yeah, really, we're all just little pieces in a jigsaw puzzle. It's hard to know what we should be doing if we can't see the whole picture. But if we take time to zoom out and see where we fit in with the greater whole, then we can begin to see what lessons we might be learning from a particular situation or circumstance. We can begin to see, perhaps, how we could do things differently. And sometimes it's only just a matter of thinking about things differently, seeing things differently. You know, a good example would be sitting there thinking, everything's on my shoulders, it's all up to me. But if you change your thinking and think, perhaps you're the most competent one, you're the one with the most experience that really knows everything, so of course people are going to defer to you. It's exactly the same circumstance, but how you see It's how you see it and how you think about it is going to make all of the difference. So perhaps look at some of the things in life that are actually impinging on those stories, and perhaps you can change something just by changing your focus. Remember, we're all in the process of growing up. Humanity's been on a very, very, very long journey, something like 14.8 billion years, I think the scientists are telling us now. That's a lot of living, but we're actually still just at the adolescent age, before we grow up to take responsibility for ourselves. Before you've grown at that idea of, oh dear, more responsibility, think, when you grow up, think of the freedom you've got. Think how wonderful it is to be able to make your own decisions, to not have to ask mum and dad if you can go out anymore, to be able to feel you can go somewhere and do something on your own bat. Well, in terms of spiritual growth, that's about where humanity's at. We're right on the point where we have to prove to our elder brothers, those great ones who guide our system, that we are responsible, that we can take care of the earth, that we can move forward much more efficiently and much more effectively, and that we really are responsible to carry the whole process forward into the next age. We think we know it all, but believe me, we don't even know what we don't know in terms of spiritual growth. The wise ones down through the ages have tried on and on to tell us, to give us instances, to give us understandings of what might lie ahead. I guess all we have are people's versions of heaven and glory. But I think if you look at quantum physics and begin to see the potential of working energetically instead of physically, we can start to see that there's a whole new world up ahead for humanity. My feeling is that things like the internet and cyberspace just give us a little inkling of what it might be like when we can actually work at that higher level for ourselves. It's an exciting time to be in. So next time you feel it's all getting too much, just pause for a moment. Take 3 nice deep breaths right down near the belly button area and think, hang on, I'm about to grow up. There's something very special about to happen. How can I best prepare for that? We'll talk more on a future video about what's happening next. See you then.